Hey, Footclan, if you're getting ready this weekend for some FanDuel, Draft, DraftKings, just some overall DFS action to enhance that weekend, we encourage you to check out DFSpass.com. That is our premium resource to get all your cash picks, your tournament picks, your DFS alerts this weekend. Everything you need to get started for DFS is available over at DFSpass.com. And guess what? The price just went down, so go grab it and make some cash this weekend.
This is Hall of Famer Marshall Faulk, and you're listening to the Fantasy Footballers.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from the Play Draft Studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Oh, come on now. Let's have some football.
Let's have some football. I agree.
Let's have it.
Tonight.
Oh, I will be there live reporting to myself.
Live reporting.
Yeah.
I'm picturing you now with one of those personal recorders like the news reporters would have.
You're darn right.
Drew Stanton just threw another incomplete pass. Drew Stanton?
I think it would be more along the lines of like, Drew Stanton's so bad.
But you paid to watch him.
That's true. That is true.
You and your father are going to this?
Yeah, it's a little birthday present for me pops.
Nice.
It is Thursday, November 9th. Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Andy, Mike, and Jason. As always, Judge Giamatti behind the scenes over there. And
we have a Wizard of Oz curtain. Yeah. He just stands behind.
Well, no, we legitimately do have a curtain, so it's pretty close. And what's on the show today? We've got the forecast, starts of the week, boom, boom, kicker. Got some news.
Yep.
Yeah, you guys should probably clear your throats.
Uh-oh.
Because 2 weeks.
Let me clear my throat.
2 weeks from now.
2 weeks.
Oh.
We have the annual.
Oh, my goodness.
Megalodon episode.
Megalodon. It's coming.
It's coming, yes. The Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
Prepare yourselves, people.
Will be an extra special Megalodon episode. We'll have a Megalodon giveaway. We'll Megalodon the heck out of that show.
Yeah, it's going to be so mega.
Follow us on Twitter at the FF Ballers. Guys, here's a question for you. By the way, if you did not listen to yesterday's episode, we had a playoff primer. We went through all the positions, told you which players had easy and difficult playoff matchups. Here's a question we didn't really jump into, but what are some defenses to target for the fantasy football playoffs? Playoffs? Do you ever roster two during the playoffs?
Absolutely. We've talked about this. I frequently will roster two defenses. At this point of the season, I'm not so much worried about having fantastic depth. This is where I'm getting my handcuffs. I'm getting those defensive matchups prepared for the playoffs. And the team that I want people to pay attention to, because this is not just for the playoffs, the Baltimore Ravens. Now, they are owned in the majority of leagues right now, but they're on the bye week. So pay attention. Always drop it like it's hot. Check every single day to see what activity is happening in your league. See who's being dropped, because the Ravens may be available. Because coming out of the bye, they have two juicy matchups. And then in the playoffs, weeks 15 and 16, they get the Cleveland Browns and the Indianapolis Colts. The Ravens are going to be a sensational play for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, the Ravens have been fantastic this whole year. That's why they might be owned in your league, is just because they've been a little bit too hot. The teams that stick out to me when I look at the playoff schedules for advice where it's like, okay, they might be available, it's the triple Bs. It's the Bears, the Bills, and the Bengals. The Bears, the Bills, and the Bengals.
Of course, the triple Bs.
The triple Bs. I really like all three of those teams' defense, first and foremost. I think Chicago has an underrated defense. The Bills with McDermott have just been great despite getting rid of what we perceive to be all their talent. And the Bengals' defense has been very good all year. And when I look at fantasy schedules, I focus more on the first and second week, unless you know you're getting a bye week, and then focus obviously not on the week you're not playing. But the first and second week are, what you're going to need first, and then you'll find that through the playoffs, when you get deep into the playoffs, there's fewer people competing for anything because everyone's out, and you'll have a much easier time picking those things off the waivers. The Bears open up with Cincinnati and Andy Dalton, who stinks. The Bills have Indianapolis and Miami to open up, and the Bengals start with Chicago and Minnesota. I like all of those matchups.
All right, let's get into the news.
News and notes from around the league.
The Packers have released veteran tight end Martellus Bennett with a failure. The report was that it was because of a failure to disclose a medical condition designation. From what I understand,
that old thing.
He was already going to miss this week due to injury. And they paid him $8 million, and he's going to retire after the year. He's already said that. So from my understanding, the release allows the Packers to possibly salvage some of that money if he's picked up on the waivers. So there's been rumors about the Patriots bringing him back.
Patriots are not going to pick him up off of waivers, though. They're too smart.
Hasn't really worked out with Dwayne Allen there in terms of an ancillary tight end. But Martellus Bennett, he's off the Packers. You weren't starting him anyway due to Brett Hundley. The Colts, they released Vontae Davis. He was going to be a free agent. He also opted. I guess he opted for groin surgery. Like apparently it was a choice. It was like, do you want groin surgery or do you not? And he chose groin surgery over playing for the Colts.
That sounds good. I think I'll have that.
Well, I mean, if it's either play for the Colts or groin surgery.
Yeah,
when you put it that way,
yeah,
I'll take the groin surgery. Me and Davis. We'll get a 2 for 1.
They also lost another defensive lineman this week.
Yes,
so the Colts defense that was already putrid is even better for fantasy
Is Chuck
matchups.
Pagano the coach next year?
No way.
No.
Shouldn't have been this year.
Devonta Freeman, C.J. Anderson, Emmanuel Sanders, and Danny Amendola were limited. C.J. Anderson is interesting because that could explain some of the workload issue last week. He is touchdown dependent right now with the workload split.
The 2 weeks ago, you saw him I thought it was 2 weeks ago. Maybe I'm confused.
No, you're right.
Where he left the game with what looked like a pretty bad injury. If just watching it on film, now he was able to rest and get back into that game. So this is, I assume, related to that. For Freeman, that's also one that you need to watch. It's Veterans Day off on Wednesday, so it's not out of the usual. But Freeman has clearly been dealing with nicks and bumps and bruises and all those types of things. So pay attention for Freeman this weekend.
Matt Forte still didn't practice on Wednesday.
Oof.
Marquise Lee didn't practice. He hasn't practiced much of the last 2 weeks. He still played. Delaney Walker, Demaryius Thomas, Dez Bryant with the injury.
Yeah,
Julio
pay
Jones.
attention to Dez.
These are all names to monitor. We're going to talk about starts of the week later. Matt Forte was in the running for me before these injury concerns. So there is opportunity in New York this week at the running back position. Tomorrow's show on Friday, we do In and Out. We talk about the latest possible news that we have on any of these injuries and whether we think those players are going to play. It's going to make a big difference this week. You got bye weeks. You've got your playoff push. So you got to pay attention to that. Anybody else you want to mention there in the news, guys, before we jump into the forecast?
Nah.
All right.
Fantasy Forecast.
All right. The Chiefs. Excuse me. Sorry. If I was a professional, I would have done that off the mic. Sorry about that. The Chiefs, Eagles, Raiders, and Ravens. They're on bye. They're not playing. Don't start them. By the way, did you see this thing with Joe Flacco saying after the bye he wants the offense to really go after it?
Well, they'll be able to because they will have Danny Woodhead.
Oh.
I just don't know what to believe about Danny Woodhead.
I know what to believe.
I ping-pong back and forth between.
What's that sound like?
Clippity clop, clippity clop. Listen to my ping pong.
Buck Allen is strange because I know, Mike, you've been talking about how much they hate him.
And they do.
But he's leading the league in like yards after contact this year and been productive. And Alex Collins, Jason says, hold on to Alex Collins, and then you bring in a formerly injured Danny Woodhead. there are expectations out there from beat writers that he's going to get a ton of work, and he could be one of those guys you talk about as a playoff winner. So Jason's nodding profusely.
Yeah, I mean, I really do think when Danny Woodhead comes back, he'll be plugged right into the role they brought him in to fill, that he looked incredible in for about a quarter before getting injured. And yeah, I think he will be a playoff type of winner. Pick him up.
Eddie Lacy is out for Week 10, the game tonight, Thursday Night Football, Cardinals, Seahawks. C.J. Prosise is not on the injury report. He should be active. Paul Richardson's questionable, expected to play. You got to pay attention to that. He was somebody that I had, thought about streaming. So if he was active, I'd think about it still.
And Foot Clan out there, if you were on that wild Eddie Lacy ride with me last week, join me. Join me on Thomas Rawls.
The Rolls Royce.
Because another necessity play will be Thomas Rawls tonight. So if you want to join in on that fun, me and you. Let's do it together.
Thomas Rawls has been through an entire career arc, and he's only 24 years old. Right? Like
it really
everything
does.
has happened much faster for him. He went from nothing to superstar.
Top 5 running
and now
back
he reminds me a lot of like Rashad Jennings.
Yeah, this game feels like he is just coming back from retirement.
He just got back. Did you see Trent Richardson's put up 127-2 up in Canada?
Oh, in the CFL?
Yeah, he's coming back.
Oh, bonjour, Trent.
The Saints. They travel to Buffalo to take on the Bills. Saints are 6-2. Bills are 5-3. The Bills are 3-point underdogs, 46.5-point over-under. I think this is a very interesting game for a lot of reasons. One, the Bills, if they had just taken care of business against the Jets, these would be 2 6-2 teams. You'd be talking about the Bills for playoffs. But if they lose another one at home here, then you're wondering if you had a mirage there towards the beginning of the year. Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram, they've been absolutely dominant. In fact, the New Orleans Saints running backs have 71 receptions this year. That's most in the National Football League. This is what we've been saying since the beginning of the year. Sean Payton finds a way to get the ball into the hands of his running backs. You could definitely argue that outside of Michael Thomas, they're the best 2 pass-catching weapons for Drew Brees. What are the start-sit considerations here on the road? Drew Brees, we know on the road, and thus far this year has not been a prolific fantasy quarterback.
They don't need him to be.
But do you need him to be this week as a fantasy owner, and do you expect him to be?
I would not expect it against this Bills defense. He's still a start. I'm not going to, stream. My stream of the week is Eli Manning in a great matchup against the 49ers. I would still play Drew Brees over those types of guys. And I wasn't sure if you guys are aware of this, but Alvin Kamara, it's only 52 carries. He's running for 6 yards a carry right now. I mean, he has been absolutely sensational. It's incredible that a team can have 2 running backs be considered RB1s. But here we are, and that is at some detriment to Michael Thomas. I just wanted to get a quick Michael Thomas temperature gauge from you guys, because last night, seemingly more nights, I got a whole bunch of Michael Thomas questions, as in, should I trade for Michael? Like, people skeptical and hesitant to trade for Michael Thomas, as in, like, illustrated by this. Someone asked me, it's a standard league, should I trade away Juju Smith-Schuster for Michael Thomas?
Wow, my goodness.
But that's where people are, they feel like Michael Thomas has been a massive disappointment, but he hasn't.
Michael Thomas has been great. Now listen, he's disappointed you because
scoring
of where
touchdowns.
Exactly. He's disappointed you because of where
It's not just that.
But listen to the argument here, because people that own him are way too down on him, and their perspective because of disappointment is usually incorrect. If you get a wide receiver who's catching 7 passes, if any game you've got a guy and he caught 7 balls, you're going, that's a really good, solid game. Right now, despite the fact that he's only had 2 touchdowns on the year, he's still the number 17 wide receiver. He's a wide receiver too. And if you listen to his last stretch of games receptions-wise, 8 receptions, which is great, 7, which is great, 7, which is great. Then he had that down game in Detroit.
He had the
3.
one really bad game.
Then 8 receptions, 7. He is incredibly involved in the game. The touchdowns just aren't there, and they will be. I mean, I don't think that Michael Thomas, who came out and looked great in the red zone with Drew Brees, is going to finish the year with 3 touchdowns. He's got 2 right now. I think he gets up 5 or 6. So I love Michael Thomas as a trade target.
He's on pace for 100 and nearly 1,100 yards.
Yeah,
100.
but
People feel like it's a big disappointment.
Fundamentally, I think I disagree with the take there, because you can list off all those reception totals and you have the 17th best wide receiver. When we came into this year, we were talking about him as a top 5 wide receiver like he finished the year last year. You're not talking about 3 games. You're talking about we're through going into week 10 now, never over 100 yards. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not just the touchdowns. He's not had a 100-yard game as the number 1 wide receiver for Drew Brees for the entirety of the year. I think you need to adjust. Now, that trade for Juju Smith-Schuster is insane. No, but you have to adjust your expectations for Michael Thomas. He has not been a big play, prolific wide receiver 1. He has been a hyper-consistent wide receiver 2. That's why he's at 17, right? I mean, you are getting Jarvis Landry out of Michael Thomas this year. That is exactly what you're getting. Yeah. You're getting high quantity of receptions, low touchdowns, low yardage, possession receiver.
I wouldn't say low yardage. I mean, he hasn't hit 100, yes, but he's been over 80, 4 games, 77. I just wanted to
1,100 yard is 68 a game average. So you said he's on pace for 68 yards a game is his average. I'm not talking bad about Michael Thomas. I'm not telling you trade him for Juju Smith-Schuster. But here's the fact that and this is an important conversation. When a player comes out and has a monster first year, just like a monster first couple games in a season, you start to build that player up in your mind, and it's very hard to adjust that expectation for that player. I'm saying I think he might be a possession receiver that belongs in the running wide receiver 2 category.
Sure.
As opposed to a top 5 player, which is how he was being projected in the beginning of the year. And I think a 10-game sample size in his sophomore year might be enough for us to do that.
See, and the way that I look at Michael Thomas is he's a wide receiver 1. He's a top 12 guy. He'll finish this season as a top 12 guy. He's 17th right now, but he's already had his bye week. 4 guys ahead of him have not had their bye week. They're 9 games in. There's players ahead of him like Golden Tate and Chris Hogan and Jarvis Landry that I don't expect to finish there. So yes, top 5, sure. No, he's not been one of those true game changers, but he's going to finish this year, unless he gets injured, I believe, as a wide receiver 1, which is great. I mean,
sure.
That's the opposite of a bust. If you get a guy in the first round and he finishes as a wide receiver 1, plus he's consistent, I like him. This game, this matchup, let's talk about this actual matchup, is not the best for him, but it's not the worst. The Buffalo Bills are pretty in the middle when it comes to points given up to wide receiver against versus what other people have done to the same wide receivers that they've faced. So I think on the road, Drew Brees gets a little bumped down. So Michael Thomas, this week I think it's more in line with what your expectation is, Andy, in the sense that he might be the wide receiver 15 or 16 or 17, not a top 12 guy on the road in Buffalo.
Let's talk about the Bills. I expect LaShawn McCoy to bounce back this week. I don't think anybody should be afraid of playing him. The Saints give up 20.3 fantasy points per game to the running back position.
He's at home, too.
And he's at home, and he's just too important to that offense. They lost without giving him the ball last week. What do we expect from Kelvin Benjamin's debut for the Buffalo Bills? The Bills throw the ball to the wide receiver the 3rd least amount of times per game in the league.
Yeah,
but they haven't had wide receivers. It's a chicken and egg situation.
Certainly. I would not start him. He was coming off of that short week, and so he wasn't able to play last week. But I can't start him. What do you think so I guess the question for Kelvin Benjamin should just be, what do you feel like the upside is for him the rest of the season as a Buffalo Bill?
A touchdown dependent
3, wide receiver 3, or would you?
I think he has a chance to be a contributing number 2. I mean, they didn't bring him in here for no reason. He's a big target. They have banged up tight end situation. Yeah, I think the question then is, do you start him over Jordan Matthews or Zay Jones or Deontay Thompson, who's had big weeks? To me, Benjamin is the play I want, because I don't know what I got. Maybe I get 2 touchdowns out of him.
Sure. Charles Clay has been practicing. If he's in, Is he back in your lineup?
Yeah, I mean, if
he's
Charles,
back in mine.
Yeah, if Charles Clay is starting, I think that you're going to want to start him unless you've got a stud, because he's been a very consistent, necessary target there. I'm not fully convinced he's going to start this week, though. I wouldn't.
Yeah,
be
yesterday was his first practice and was limited.
Yeah,
Sure.
I wouldn't be surprised if they give him another week. One thing to note on this game before we move on: this is This is set to be the coldest game of the week, 33 degrees in Buffalo. So monitor that as it gets closer, because when we're talking about this on a Thursday, you don't know exactly what the weather's going to be like on Sunday. But when it starts dipping below 30 and getting in the 20s, that's the threshold where you see a significant change from pass attempts to rush attempts. And so they will go to the ground more when it dips into the 20s. So just monitor that. It could be bad for Michael Thomas and for Kelvin Benjamin. Great news for LaShawn McCoy and Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara.
Look out for our Sunday morning weather article.
Yes.
Eric Ludwig.
Oh, my gosh, I can hear Brooks.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Yeah, guys. Hey.
Hey!
No, that's a little loud, Brooks.
Oh, okay.
Shh.
Traditionally, you don't in the middle of talking, you don't move the microphone. But it sounds very good. I appreciate the fact that I can hear you. It's awesome.
I'm
By the
working
way,
on it.
when it gets cold, you know what else that means? That means the holidays are coming. We want to take a quick second and thank today's sponsor. Jason brought him up a couple shows ago, Omaha Steaks. Look, we had them as a sponsor last year during the holiday season because they have this insane deal that tons of our listeners took advantage of. We had a chance to try all of the great food that they send you. The package you receive for the price that you pay, it's crazy amazing. I think we debated and had a draft in the show on which stuff we liked the very most. Let me tell you about Omaha Steaks and how for $49.99 you can get the family gift pack when you go to omahasteaks.com and enter the code FANTASY in the search bar. So you go to omahasteaks.com, there's a little search bar at the top, you just type fantasy in. You get 75% off this deal. And this is exclusive savings just for the listeners of this show. Listen to what you get for $50. 2 filet mignons, 2 top sirloins, 2 boneless pork chops, 2 boneless chicken breasts, 2 kielbasa sausages, 4 burgers, 4 potatoes au gratin, 4 caramel apple tartlets, Jason's personal favorite.
That is my favorite.
1 Omaha Steak seasoning packet, and then they're giving you 4 additional kielbasa sausages for free. Go to omahasteaks.com, enter the code FANTASY in the search bar, and get that 75% off savings. It's a gift guaranteed to be a hit. Delicious gift.
A delicious gift indeed. And also, Foot Clan, listen up. We'd like to thank a new sponsor, Warby Parker. If you're unfamiliar with Warby Parker, they make truly fashionable contemporary eyeglasses. Look, I'm a man that's got glasses. They're a part of your persona, your fashion, like
Your
a bag
look.
or shoe or a necktie. You got to look good with your glasses, and you want it to be affordable. Warby Parker is doing something new and awesome. It's a try-on at home. I've personally done this with Warby Parker. It's very cool. Glasses start at $95, including the prescription lenses. And for every pair you buy, a pair is distributed to someone in need. And their risk-free try-on at-home program is awesome. You pick out 5 glasses you like. They ship them to you for free. You put your credit card in. You don't pay nothing. They ship them to you, and then you try them on. You ship back the package for free, and then you pick one out and you buy it online. So head to warbyparker.com/footballers to order your free home try-on today. Choose the 5 frames you'd like to try on, mail the frames back, choose your favorite pair, add your prescription, and voila. Visit warbyparker.com/footballers to begin your free try-on experience today. And don't forget to download their app from the Apple iStore.
Yeah,
the Apple Store.
The App Store. You got it.
There, we got there. It's got this cool thing where it can stitch together you trying them on and kind of publish it out to social media, so you can ask your friends and family.
Nice.
Hey, how am I looking in these? So
How
check
am
it
I
out.
looking?
warbyparker.com/footballers.
All right, the 4-4 Packers travel to Chicago to take on the 3-5 ever-fighting Bears. 38-point over-under. I think that's perfect. I think it'll be under. I really like the Bears in this game. They're 5.5-point favorites. Their defense is legitimate. The Packers' offense is illegitimate, if that's a descriptor that applies to Brett Hundley and company.
That's great.
I had a tweet this morning, a listener basically saying, Can I bench Jordy Nelson? Can I bench him for a list of mediocre other options like Juju Smith-Schuster or something else. And I was like, if you want. I mean, that didn't used to be the answer for Jordy Nelson is if you want to bench him, go ahead. It's a shame. But right now, I think fantasy owners really want to know from a start-sit perspective, is Aaron Jones an option? Ty Montgomery, is he an option? This is a running back by committee. Mike McCarthy came out and said, look, it's going to be Montgomery on third down. It's going to be Aaron Jones on first and second down. That's what the expectation is.
That's pretty usual, right? Almost every NFL team, that's how it goes.
But Aaron Jones, 4.6 yards before contact per carry, third best in the league.
Yeah, he's been great, but I can't trust him. I'm not going to start a running back there until they figure out what's going on. Now, there is the narrative that says he whiffed on a pass protection, and so he was taken out of the rest of the game. I've never seen that before. I've never seen someone who is the starter who is important.
Oh, no, I've seen that happen.
I've seen it on a fumble. But my point is this, is that what you got last week out of Aaron Jones was a landmine on your fantasy team. And if you put him in again this week without knowing, is he the starter? Is he not? Out of the bye is Ty Montgomery, who got the more work. Is he the starter? On a terrible offense against a good defense, I think the only player in this entire game that I'm willing to start with any kind of confidence is Devontae Adams. He's been the only guy with kind of more of a connection with Hundley. Outside of that, I don't want a Packer.
I'm still okay playing Jones because I think we know what it is. McCarthy said he's the 1-2 down back, and Montgomery will come in for pass protection and third downs. The Bears' defense are giving up over 20 points a game to the running back position, so I'm still okay.
You concerned that Jamal Williams may be the goal line back?
No, he came in and he cleaned up at the very end of a game that was
garbage.
Would you rather start Doug Martin this week against the Jets over Aaron Jones?
Yeah.
What about Derrick Henry against Cincinnati?
I'd probably play Aaron Jones in that situation.
On the Chicago side, I'm not starting anybody but Jordan Howard.
Oh, give me that Jordan Howard.
And their defense.
Oh.
Outside of Pittsburgh this week, I think the Bears are my favorite defense option against the Packers at home. They're a ferocious defense. They give up, just 13.4 points per game to the quarterback, 8.5 to the tight end. They're other than giving up some points to the running back.
Right.
They've been great.
Yeah, and Jordan Howard, I expect him to just continue to be an absolute monster. I'm not worried about the Packers' run defense. They're giving up over 23 points a game to the running back position. It ranks near the very bottom. So I love Jordan Howard. However, the Chicago Bears wide receivers have caught 2 touchdown passes this season. 2.
Yeah, that's not good.
2.
The 0-8 Browns go to Detroit to take on the 4-4 Lions.
Just before we move on from the Bears, do you have any interest in Deion Sims as a potential streaming tight end candidate or a pickup and stash with Zach Miller being out for the season?
Passing volume issues.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I don't have interest. I'll watch for it, but it wasn't like Zach Miller was getting a ton of volume anyways.
Sure.
The Browns take on the Lions in Detroit. Lions are 12-point favorites, 43.5-point over-under. I know you guys like Matthew Stafford and the Lions this week. You should. Golden Tate, Marvin Jones. Kenny Galladay's actually been practicing. We may see. We may see him back on the field.
So smooth. That recovery is
Kenny
so
G.
smooth.
That recovery
has not been smooth at all.
A long note.
A long note. T.J. Jones rounds out the wide receiving core. Amir Abdullah. Look, I was hard on him. To begin this week.
He was almost my start of the week.
He's not mine. I mean, I think you're going to see work from other running backs. If they get up by a big lead, I'm not sure Amir Abdullah is going to be able to. He's not a wear down type of guy where you wear the defense down and just grind it out. You can play him. Would you play Aaron Jones or Amir Abdullah? I think I'd play Abdullah in this situation.
Ooh. I might play Jones.
Wow. So you hopped off the express onto your horseback and rode away.
No, the Cleveland Browns are dominant against running backs.
Yeah. I mean, they're 7th in the league, only giving up 18.5 points per game to the position. Eric Ebron, no thanks.
Okay. We're going to talk about this a little bit later.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Are we really?
We are.
All right, so
it's not pretty, but the truth is Cleveland
How are we friends?
Man, I don't know how I'm friends with myself, if I'm being honest. And if you look in the show doc and see my tight end start of the week, which, spoiler, it's Eric Ebron.
It's a whisper.
I had to minimize the font because I'm not proud of it.
This is because the Browns are 31st in the league against the tight end position.
They're 31st in the league, but that doesn't do an accurate job of just saying how bad they are. Because you'll
do that.
You would think, yeah, I'll do that. Sure.
Deshaun Kaiser, Isaiah Crowell.
Yeah,
you're not playing anybody on Cleveland.
Probably not. Would you play?
I would play Duke Johnson.
Yeah, okay,
and we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Oh my goodness!
Yes, sir. Hey, last week I was out there with all the guys that finished great, like Alvin Kamara and Alex Smith as my starts of the week. But it's like, that's too easy. I'm going deep.
You are putting your face in the toilet and going, and
I'm coming up with an apple.
Oh yeah,
I'm coming up with an apple.
I'm Bob for apples in the toilet. And I'm finding Eric Ebron and Duke Johnson, and I do mean Duke Johnson.
No, what?
That's right. Deal with it. I wish these were sunglasses.
For what? Now I know why we're friends. I would describe your fantasy prowess as bobbing for apples in the toilet as well.
Mm-hmm. I can find a championship anywhere.
Good luck to you. The Steelers, they take on the Colts. Are you seeing a theme this week? Really good teams playing really bad teams.
Nice work by the scheduling department.
The Colts, they're 10-point underdogs at home in this game. 44.5-point over-under. Big Ben and the Steelers. I think this is a game where, look, I think Martavis Bryant, I think he catches a deep ball in this game.
Ooh.
I think he has a surprise top 15 performance this week.
What? I don't blame you for that take. It's a sneaky snart. I mean, he's a huge downfield threat against a team that is like what they are best at, is giving up downfield threats.
They're best at being bad.
Yes, that is their forte right now. So the question is just, is it going to be Juju or is it going to be Martavis Bryant? But Martavis is involved.
This is the morale boost opportunity for Martavis Bryant. And I think you're going to see this game progress into one where, look, the Colts defense, we've talked about it, they're struggling. 29th against wide receivers, 24th against running backs. Losing pieces, losing games. If this game gets out of hand, I don't think that you're going to see Martavis off the field. I think you're going to try to get him into this offense in this game. In fact, I think Juju's a little bit of a trap in this game because of this. I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster, love the guy, love the talent. I think it's a little bit of a trap. If you need to start him, you can start him, but I think Martavis has the ability to surprise.
Certainly. Do you have any interest in Jesse James?
No.
Not really.
No.
Okay. I don't think they're going to need him against the Colts. You know, usually you see those tight end matchups necessary when, it's like –
he'll probably just run out about 5 yards and sit Indian style on the field.
Right.
And just wait.
He'll catch 2 of those.
Do you remember when we played flag football?
Why you got to bring this up?
And we were playing in the wrong division.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Against some very talented
going.
players, and it got to the point at the end of the game where one of their guys actually sat down.
The safety was just sitting down on the
sat
field.
Down, and that was very.
That had to feel bad for the quarterback.
That was, I was the quarterback.
Yeah, we shouldn't have been in that division.
I didn't feel very good when I saw that I could not beat a sitting safety.
Yeah, that's a true story.
That's humiliating even now, bringing it back up. Jacoby Brissett.
The Colts.
The Colts.
Speaking of humiliation.
I'll play T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I will. I will. He's T.Y. Hilton. Yeah,
I'm not. Listen,
I know the ping pong ball of great games to terrible games.
But there's a trend I think that's important to realize with his ping pong. It's not just the the Tyreek Hill where it's good game, bad game, good game, bad game. This is you played a horrific team in the San Francisco 49ers and you went ham. You played Houston, which before last week was 27th against wide receivers, meaning 27th best, meaning bad. And he had a great game. But when he played Cincinnati and Jacksonville, he had 3.7 points and 2.3 points in fantasy. And now you're going up against Pittsburgh, who's as good as those two teams against the wide receiver. I don't want to trust T.Y. Hilton. Now, that being said, he is the type where if you don't have a good alternative, you could plug him in and hope that he just goes off for, he's averaging over 20 yards a reception right now. So if he just gets one long bomb, you're going to be safe. I don't think that happens against the Steelers is more my...
Yeah, I like the fact that Pagano said they need to get him the ball. They got him the ball. He had a 36-point fantasy week, #1 wide receiver on the week, and he's T.Y. Hilton with the track record. So I'm going to just bank on the fact that Jacoby Brissett has to throw from the first snap to the last snap. They're probably down in this game. Let's put that to test, though, Jason. Would you rather play Devin Funchess against Miami this week or T.Y. Hilton?
Funchess.
Jarvis Landry against Carolina or T.Y. Hilton?
Jarvis Landry.
Robbie Anderson against Tampa?
Robbie Anderson. We'll talk about him a little bit, too.
Oh, gosh. Ted Ginn against Buffalo or T.Y. Hilton against Pittsburgh?
That one is much, much closer. I think I would lean towards T.Y. Hilton.
Mike, you want to weigh in on the Hilton situation?
I'm with you. That I think
with you who?
Well, I'm with Andy. Sorry, I'm looking at Andy. I'm with Andy that I think he's fine to play him. But then going through those names, I agreed with Jason on each start-sit decision.
All right, let's move to the Chargers-Jaguars game.
Real quick.
Play baby hands.
Hands.
You always play baby hands.
I also think Frank Gore is okay here. Frank Gore's been surprisingly effective. I mean, the last 2 weeks, he's been double digits of fantasy points, and Pittsburgh is not. They're great against the pass, and they're middle of the pack against the run. So you could do worse. I'm not saying you need to start Frank Gore, but he's one of those guys where you look for where you can. I think you can.
Okay.
The Chargers take on Jacksonville. This game's in Jacksonville. Should have Leonard Fournette back, right?
Little Red Fournette.
Maybe.
Yeah, they should. And if they do, the Chargers are a great matchup for the Jaguars, for Leonard Fournette. They have not been good against the run at all. So, I mean, Fournette could be the #1 running back on the week, assuming that he finally plays, which is a tough assumption.
Yeah.
Okay, Blake Bortles,
No.
Marquise Lee, Allen Hurns, the other options here against the Chargers defense. I'm a little well, I mean, the Jags are 3.5-point favorites, 41-point over-under. Weather's not an issue in this game. I don't think I want to start anybody but Fournette.
I agree. I expect Marquise Lee to be shadowed by Casey Hayward and Hearns. I'm not really interested in
letting the running game do the work here.
Yeah, absolutely. In the right matchups, we know, Lee and Hearns, you can play them, but this is not the one.
You're saying from the Jacksonville side.
Yes, absolutely. And what about
on the other side? It's hands off outside of Melvin Gordon because the Jaguars, they're not just the best against the pass. They're the best by a lot. They're #1.
They're the best in years.
Yeah, I mean, they're #1 against fantasy quarterbacks. They're #1 against fantasy wide receivers. It doesn't matter who you are. If you play Jacksonville right now, the secondary has your number. They're in your head.
It's not just the secondary. I mean, the secondary is fantastic with Ramsey and Bouye, but they get tremendous pressure. They get sacks. I mean, so it's
Calais Campbell has been an absolute beast.
They
average
a
a sack
complete
every
package.
7.2 pass attempts.
That's ridiculous. That's devastating for an offense.
Any sneaky snarts in this matchup? Hunter Henry? Because you want to avoid the wide receivers?
Yeah, I don't know that he's sneaky, but I would start Hunter Henry despite the gross matchup.
All right, let's talk about Stream of the Week. Josh McCown and the Jets traveling to Tampa to take on the reeling Buccaneers. They're 2-6 right now, and the wheels are falling off. Jameis Winston sitting down in this game. You got Ryan Fitzpatrick.
I think he got sick from that W he ate. Did you guys see that video?
Yeah, it's a bad video.
Oh, man. You watch that and you go, I really hope that's not my quarterback.
Do you want to explain?
Yeah, so he's in the pre-game warm-up, the huddles all around, and a camera comes over, and a camera's in that huddle, and for the camera, this is how I took it. I took it as like he's just trying to do something unbelievable. This pep talk is just crazy, and so he makes this W, like West Side throwing up the sign, and he starts licking it and like biting it and eating it, and he's like, who wants to eat a W? And going crazy, and you look at the teammates, and they're like, what's happening? What is Jameis Winston doing? And then he proceeds to go get knocked out of the game and start a fight and get Mike Evans suspended.
He did not eat the W.
He did not eat the W. No.
Now, is that worse or better than Cam Newton's Titanic snafu? Where Cam Newton in a press conference says, they asked him about Kelvin Benjamin leaving. He says, look, he's a great player, but the Titanic must go on.
It's like, wait, do you know how that movie ends? The
Now-
movie, not the
it's
historical event. The Titanic did not go on for very long.
In his defense, I looked this up. He was 8 years old when the Titanic came out, the movie.
It's not just the movie. It's a historical event.
Yes, I was.
It was devastating.
I was negative 60
Hey,
years
Brooks,
old when it happened,
can
and I
we-
heard about it before the movie.
Can we send him the Blu-ray, Brooks? Can you put that in the mail for him?
It's on its way.
So,
Just have James Cameron go talk to him.
yeah,
All right, where were we? All right.
we were talking Jets and Buccaneers. Ryan Fitzpatrick takes the reins this week.
Eating W's.
Ryan Fitzpatrick is, for lack of a better comparison, he's Josh McCown in the sense that, you put him behind center. He has the opportunity to start. He's not going to lay down. He's not going to be afraid to throw the ball downfield. Mike Evans is suspended.
Yeah, that sucks.
You have opportunity here with Deshaun Jackson. I think with the tight end, Cameron Brate. It's not like the Jets' defense is world beaters. They're bad. I mean, they're 25th, 24th, and 26th, giving up fantasy points to the quarterback, wide receiver, and tight end. Ryan Fitzpatrick's streamable here at home.
I agree.
Yeah, he's streamable, but I also think that I'm interested in playing the Jets against this team. I know Fitzpatrick is
Playing
fine.
the Jets' offensive players or
No,
playing their defense?
playing their DST
because of mistakes.
Yes, I think that the Jets are a fine play, and I've seen them on many a waiver wires. For
Really?
This weekend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this game could be – I know the Jets are going to score. Right now, the Buccaneers' defense seems to be in shambles, and outside of the tight end position, they're giving up tons of fantasy points, especially the wide receiver. And so this is why I think we have Robbie Anderson on the excitement radar this week. I think Jermaine Kearse is going to do some work in this game, and I love Josh McCown in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a week where you could fire up pretty much every Jet that is relevant.
Did you hear they're thinking about bringing McCown back for next year?
Really?
Yes.
Oh, here we go.
Let's do it till he's 40.
No, here we go again with another Fitzpatrick situation.
Oh, it will be.
They're gonna be like, yeah, we want you
What
to
do you
come
want
back.
to do though? Okay, so let's pretend here, outside of free agency, Bryce Petty's not the future of this team, is he?
No.
So then it's an opportunity to draft somebody and they could sit behind McCown, who they say, outside of the performance on the field, huge locker room impact.
Yes.
It could be a
good
great
guy.
leader for another quarterback.
The thing about Josh
And they
McCown-
could, if they win this game, they're 5-5. They're in a wild card discussion.
Jette, Jets.
Jette. Nice. People just think you can't spell and they don't
Right.
really know that reference. But the question will be, if we're talking about this, is they're like, yeah, we want to bring you back. We're going to give you $7 million. I mean, he's playing for 6.5 this on a 1-year contract. The Jets are going to try and lowball him again.
Yeah, he's going to be 39.
Yeah, and
Right,
he'll
but I'm
take
just
it. He'll take
saying.
it unlike
Yeah,
Fitzpatrick.
Okay.
I agree. I think he's just a good quarterback.
Yeah.
In the right situation, he can produce.
In the right situation, yeah. And look, this defense, they haven't done him a lot of favors, but if they can come together, this team will be competing.
Deshaun Jackson's a great play. You mentioned Cameron Brate, a good play. Keep your eyes on Chris Godwin. You're not going to start him. He hasn't had more than one reception in the last 2 months.
Yeah,
but he's got the opportunity. Matt Harmon, gave him a great
Yeah, he
kind
loves
of,
Godwin.
overview from his reception perception. I'm not saying by any means start him, but watch.
Yeah, the problem is what do you do? I mean, let's say you watch him this week, then Evans comes back.
No, I'm speaking much more for just dynasty and knowing what the asset is.
All right. Look, it's time, Jason. You get the opportunity now to
Dig deep.
dig deep.
Go bobbing.
Go bobbing for apples.
Starts of the week.
I don't know if I've had a more disgusting visual in my mind
Then bobbing for apples in the toilet.
than bobbing for apples in the toilet. And of course, I'm putting you
W?
in you're like in a public restroom doing this.
Oh, for sure. At a gas station.
This is a stadium.
Ooh.
This is the
That makes sense, though.
Yeah, that's the hot dog and beer.
Hey, starts of the week. I'm going Josh McCown against Tampa Bay.
Yeah,
He's
I
my
love it.
dude this week. I've got him in 2 of my 3 leagues, filling in for, if you've got Carson Wentz, who's on bye, or Derek Carr. If you stash Josh McCown for this week, I think you're going to be happy.
Yeah.
absolutely. I'm going Sir Mix-a-Lot. Double up. Double up. Thanks for nothing, Jason.
I was with you on the first.
But you got to. I said we're doubling it up.
I apologize.
Thank you. Because last week
For nothing.
Matthew Stafford was my start of the week. I'm staying in those flames with Matthew Stafford. because this is a shout-out to you, Mr. Stafford. You're currently my #1 quarterback on the week against the Cleveland Browns, and I don't think I've ever ranked Stafford at #1. So this is just this is that tip of the cap.
You took your cap, you threw it backwards, and you're going in?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm high-fiving Jay Cutler.
You're under the bleachers with Cam Newton.
I was upset when I saw it because I wanted him to be my start of the week. He's also my #1 quarterback, so I think that's good. I'm going to stay in some flames with a guy that we came into this season thinking was already a bust. By we, I mean pretty much everyone in existence, but that's King Goffrey. Jared Goff is going up against a really good defense in the Houston Texans, except they're not. That they've got this mystique of like, oh, this is a tough matchup, except not really, not for fantasy, definitely not for quarterbacks and wide receivers. They're much better against the run, but they've given up a lot of big plays. They're the 6th worst team in the league right now at points, given up to the quarterback. So King Goffrey, he's been playing great. The Rams with McVay, they've got new life in them, and because I think that the run game can get a little bit more shut down from Houston and Todd Gurley, I think Goffrey will get it done.
Sure.
All right, let's move on to the running back. Now, I had been very excited to say Matt Forte is my start of the week. However, he's all banged up. So this is Mike's done this many times before with running back situation. This is whoever's starting for the Jets.
Oh, nice.
Is my start of the week at the running back position. So if it's Matt Forte, if it's Bilal Powell, it's looking more like it's going to be Bilal Powell. Blah, 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 blah. So I think the start of the week, it's in that matchup. And so it's Forte or Powell for me. Jason, bob away.
All right. I'm going deep in that toilet. I'm
Look
coming
out
up
for
with
those turds.
Duke Johnson. No turds, just apples here. Duke Johnson. Listen, what's surprising on the year, if you're in any kind of half-point or full-point PPR, he's the number 18 running back. He's a running back, too, who's been somewhat consistent this entire season and completely taken over the pass-catching back role. He hasn't had fewer than 3 receptions since week 1. And a lot of the times they're 6 receptions or 9 receptions. This is a guy that is facing a matchup right now in Detroit. Detroit is favored by double digits, meaning Cleveland will be down. They need to pass the ball. That fits right into what Duke Johnson does. And if you look at Detroit, Detroit's very good at the run when it comes to total yards given up against the rushing attack on the ground and yards per carry, and very bad at guarding the running back. They're bottom 10 in guarding the running back receptions. So everything to me feeds into Duke Johnson being, I'm not saying like, oh, he's going to be a top 5 guy. What I am saying is about 3/4 of his weeks have been absolutely startable weeks, and you never feel confident to start him. This is one of those startable weeks. You know, if you've got him in that flex, put him in.
My start of the week at the running back position is Orleans Darkwa. He gets to take on San Francisco.
Heck yes.
Which is, I mean, that's the creme de la creme of running back matchups for the week. But what's interesting for Darkwa is last week I had him ranked, I think 20 to 22, and on the Periscope I was recommending Darkwa a good amount. And this is last week, and people are like, why? Why do you like Darkwa? And it's like he gets it done in the right matchup. He is the starting running back.
Even in the wrong matchup, Denver.
Orleans Dark was averaging 5.1 a carry.
He's passed my eyeball test.
So you stay with Darkwa, and now he has just the absolute best matchup. He's a fantastic play this week.
I'm going to stay in that same game with my wide receiver start of the week, Sterling Shepard.
Take that, San Francisco.
Yeah, San Francisco, it's a juicy matchup. I think, Shepard, he was involved last week. He's their best wide receiver by far. It's the Shepard and Ingram show when it comes to the wide receivers. And as of now, we still have Eli Manning behind center. I think he has enough in the tank to take advantage of this matchup against San Francisco. I love Sterling Shepard this week.
Came back, got 9 targets.
Yeah.
Right away.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's good. He's a really good player.
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. My start of the week at wide receiver is Robbie Anderson. This is a game against Tampa Bay. I mean, look, Tampa Bay is the 31st worst team in points given up against the wide receiver position. And if you look at who they've faced and how those opponents have done against other teams, they're the worst by a large margin. You want wide receivers against Tampa Bay, regardless of who it is. Now look at Robbie Anderson specifically, and the last 3 weeks, he's been double digits, a touchdown in 3 consecutive weeks.
Getting it done.
He is he's very fast. He's surprisingly fast. And so I think he's going to be able to get behind Tampa Bay. There's not many people I wouldn't want to start in that Jets game. I mean, you got Curse, go right ahead.
Sure.
But I'm taking Robbie Anderson.
I'm going a little deeper for my wide receiver this week. I'm going with Mohamed Sanu. Atlanta's matchup, it is the highest over-under of the week. And did you know that Mohamed Sanu has either 5 or more receptions or a touchdown in every game this year except for the game where he got hurt?
I did not know that.
Mohamed Sanu has been super solid for a guy that you got essentially free in the draft or off of your waiver wire, and I think that he is worth a play this week. Julio Jones always doing what Julio Jones does and going in and out of the lineup, missing practice. So I think that Mo Sanu is a great play. And I'll just follow it up real quick. My tight end is Kyle Rudolph, Minnesota Vikings. He's playing Washington. They give up the 4th most points to the tight end. And Kyle Rudolph, 5 or more receptions each of the last 4 games. He's getting involved. Maybe they're shorter passes, but always has touchdown upside as well.
I did see a really interesting split with Kyle Rudolph, showing how involved he has been, which is really involved in the games that Stefon Diggs has missed.
Yes.
And how he has pretty much disappeared when Diggs has been there. Do you have any worries there? Because, Diggs is playing, right?
Yeah, I expect Diggs to play, but I still think that short stuff.
I have no room, no grounds to speak since my tight end start of the week is someone I said I would never make my start of the week again.
He who shall not be named.
He who shall not be named.
Voldemort?
Starting
basically
tight end for the Detroit
Voldemort
Lions.
Would dominate, though.
Oh, man.
You put him in at tight end with all those magic powers?
Cleveland? I mean, come on.
I think against any matchup.
Yeah, but Cleveland? Look,
Cleveland especially.
Cleveland's been terrible, and if you look at Eric Ebron, he has also been terrible. But he does have a skill set. You and I both have Matt Stafford as our #1 quarterback this week.
Please don't talk about his skill set.
He is
his skill set is just.
He is.
We're beyond the skill set argument
fast.
for Eric. Who cares?
He is large.
Who cares?
He could drop passes.
Welcome to the NFL.
And every now and then he could catch passes. You want to know his one good game this year?
No,
certainly.
Is that a trick question?
It's not. He had 5 receptions, 42 yards, and a touchdown in week 2.
Oh,
that
wow.
was against the New York Giants. What do we know about the New York Giants?
You start your tight ends against the Giants.
You start your tight ends against the Giants. And there's only one other team where – there's 2 teams right now that are just unfathomably bad against tight ends. One is the New York Giants. That would be George Kittle, who's injured. So if you want to take a shot at Garrett Selleck,
do it.
Maybe in some DFS. And the other is the Cleveland Browns. And Eric Ebron has been more involved. He's gotten the starting role back from Darren Fells. Look, I don't love it, but if you're struggling out there, he's probably on your waivers, and you could stream him. I'm actually playing
I'll water bet
this
you
week.
that he doesn't catch 3 passes.
I will take that water bet.
Oh.
Water bet.
That's easy.
Mostly because he's only done that twice this entire year.
Once was last week.
No, last week he caught 2 passes. Oh, I'm sorry. No, 3 last week. You're
There
right.
you go.
2, 1, 1, 2, 2.
Wow.
Look, he's been terrible. I'm not saying he hasn't. I'm not saying rest of season you want to start Eric
for you.
Ebron,
He's been
or
terrible.
that he's my favorite guy. I'm saying this week, this matchup, it lines up.
No,
you can play
it's fine. That's why we water bet. It's fun. Cameron Braid against the Jets.
Yeah, I like it.
Coming off a down week, maybe you're hesitating, maybe you're not sure what to do. You know, you had Howard a couple weeks ago break out, and then Cameron Braid had a down week. You got no Evans. I think it's going to be Brayton Djax. So, you know, Fitzpatrick, he can get it done.
Yeah.
All right. More importantly,
Jason Moore's ironclad, locked and loaded, 100% guaranteed boom boom kicker of the week.
so just to preface your exciting segment, Jason, last week you said let's get nuts with Will Lutz. So who do you got this week?
Well, the aliens might be in Roswell, but the field goals will be with Chris Boswell.
Dun,
Oh,
We need that outro music, Mike.
we
Get on
really
that.
do need that.
All right,
Mike.
I'm on it.
Because when he drops it, we got to be out. We got to be out quick.
There you go.
Like Eric Ebron's in my fantasy
Oh.
lineup. Out. Get it out the door.
Yeah, kicker for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Chris Boswell, dang it.
I gotcha.
All right. Well, that's on that note, we will say goodbye.
Oh.
Let's play some draft together this weekend. Draft.com/ballers. Draft your team.
Goodbye.
We'll be back tomorrow. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.